Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you what if Naruto and his clan was betrayed by Konoha part 10 guys. Hey, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, yes. First of all, remember to get this to 100 like as usual, and yes, I indeed have 4 channels guys, yes. Anime King 2, Anime King 3, Anime Prince, which I post what if on every single day. I already post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was the Strongest Half-Breed Uchiha, so go ahead, check that out and enjoy. Over in Anime King, over in Anime Prince, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto and the Tail Beasts were stuck in the Attack on Titan universe, so go ahead and enjoy that guys. And don't forget to go ahead and turn on the bell notification and see exactly when I post. So without further ado or wasting more time, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now guys. So, the last spot we left off. Konoha was in mourning after the recent attack. Their pride and hope was shattered. Their Hokage was severely beaten, battered. Jury of the Sanin was out of the village at the moment. Danzo got what he always wanted as he was currently running the village, however, this was the worstest time for him to run the village. It seems that their past ghost was coming back to haunt them, really badly. Danzo wanted to make a few moves, however, he was waiting for Harrison to recover enough so they can have a proper talk. As Harrison and him was in this together, the both of them agreed to the things in the past to make sure that Konoha remained number one, so they had to agree to the things in the future. And Harrison knew that Danzo had to do what he did nowadays. Those corrupted things that make other ninja frown upon him and the village. After all, if they did not, he feared that Konoha would not stand to live for a few more years. While that was going on, Gaara had been in this place for some time now. The people here was strangely nice than he expected for one. His mother was no longer messing with his head, yes, Shikaku was no longer bothering him, giving Gaara a chance to think and be him. And also Hanoka was incredibly nice to him, as she was like the older sister that he never had. Considering that him and Tamara never really got along together. All they did was, well, he threatened to kill her, and she ignored him. And him and Conqueror was nothing better either. So Gaara was grateful for that until it was finally time for him to meet the leader. He also met Mito as well, as she was brought towards the location. She brought him there as she told him to go ahead, as Gaara stepped in. That is when he came face to face with Naruto. As Naruto sat him down and spoke to him, the both of them had a long conversation as they sat down and talked to one another. Naruto made Gaara realize that it was his choice to do what he wanted to do. If he chose to not go with what he said, he would just erase the memory of this place away from his mind and return him back home. Gaara sat there for a few minutes going over the details in his mind on what to do, as he finally gave out. He wanted to start over, as Naruto said, as he wanted a new chance at life. A better world for everyone. A better world for himself. So he accepted Naruto's offer. Meanwhile at Konoha, Harrison finally woke up, as Danzo came in the room. Harrison told him about the battle between him and the Uzumakis. Orochimaru was officially dead now. Everyone was aware of that. Harrison told Danzo everything that got the man worried. He knew that it was bad, but he never knew that it was this bad. It's time for them to make a critical move. To ensure their survival, they had to do whatever it takes. And that means whatever it takes. It doesn't matter how despicable it is. They had to do whatever. Jiraiya also made his way to the last known location of Tsunade. When he got there, he was shocked as the bartender told him that a guy with red head came in there and talked to her, and they start to fight outside. Most people could not get near because they were too powerful, and not to mention destroying the place. Jiraiya starts to hyperventilate as he realizes that they got to her first. She had fallen off the map as he realized something. Tsunade was dead. A dejected Jiraiya made his way back to Konoha, as he couldn't believe it. With that out of the way, Sasuke was the next one to be brought to the location. As Naruto spoke to Sasuke and showed him a few things, Sasuke was baffled as he found out that Konoha was the one behind the Uchiha's destruction. He was shaking to his core with anger. He was pissed off. His anger boiled over. It surpassed the rage that he was feeling. He wanted to kill all Konoha ninjas. He wanted to plummet the village. His mind was shattered and broken. Years he had spent hating his brother and despising him when he was given a mission by Konoha. As Naruto spoke to him and actually enlightened young Sasuke to see the correct path and take it, Sasuke latched onto that as he asked Naruto to help him get stronger. As Naruto promised that he would, Sasuke latched onto it like a teacher, showing their student guidance and the students soaking it all in, as Sasuke became one of his disciples right there and then. Mito was actually happy to see Sasuke for once. Given the situation, things were different. She also found out what Konoha did to his clan. It made her even more angry at the village. Since day one, Naruto told her that he was nuts. He's not a good person. He loved her, and he loved the people here, but what he's planning to do is change the entire world by completely demolishing several systems. He also told Shikaku his plan as well. Shikaku was baffled at that. However, the giant Tanuki believed that if anyone can do it, he can. He had the same eyes as his father. Naruto also had a meeting with the Nine-Tailed Fox as well, as several things happened on the day that he was pulled from her. Several things that Naruto should know. Not to mention, unlike before, the Nine-Tails did not hate Kushina because Mito had apologized to him and talked to him. And he actually wasn't that bad. And he didn't want to see her die, but several things happened on that day. And he would like to enlighten Naruto about them. The Fox actually believed that Naruto will be the one to fix the world that his father left a mistake. His father made the wrong choice back then. Giving humanity the choice to use chakra for their own means, he was wrong because all they used was for war and chaos. However, someone has come to change all of that. The world was on edge right now. The Akatsuki also found out about the death of Orochimaru. It seems that they had a little problem with the Crimson Reapers, given that they were also going after the Tail Beast as well. So yeah guys, basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across the play, check it out for yourself. So we jump right into this new episode guys. Begin now. Jiraiya of the Sannin, one of the only living Sannin as of this date. That is what he believed. Jiraiya had dubbed himself the world's best spy master, able to gain information on the most secretive things that wasn't supposed to be out in the public. Able to gather information like that, a snap of a finger. He was good, really good. Or at least he thought that he was. It has been years, and it has been hard on him. Jiraiya did not look the same as he once looked. Maybe it was the stress. Maybe it was the failure. Maybe it was more. However, throughout his whole life he's been a failure. He was responsible for killing off Uzumaki's, given an order by his Hokage, and yet he had to watch Kushina Uzumaki rise and fall in love with his protege. And he had to smile and act happy to her face even though he knew that he was one of the problems, that he was the reason why her brother was dead. Back then she spoke about her brother that she lost, her brother that she loved so much, and he was the one that caused it. He pretended like he was her friend, like he was a mentor to her. She always thought of him as someone wise when he was not being a pervert. She called him someone wise and smart. Not to mention when her and Minato was getting married, she got nervous. And he was the one that talked her into it, telling her that it's okay to be nervous. Yet he was just a hypocrite. Jiraiya's beard had grown, as he had white beard that reached down to his chin at the moment, pointed downwards. His face looked like it's aged a lot, given that it's only been 3 years. 3 years since the attack on Konoha. However, it looked like he was aged at least 20 years. A lot of stress was on his shoulders. One of his main goals right now was to find the location of where the Crimson Reapers lay their head, or more specifically where the leader was. However, throughout the past 3 years, he's gotten absolutely nothing. He searched all over the world. He even went to Kumo, even though them and Konoha were not in the best of situations. However, the description of the one that took the two-tailed Jinchuriki, it turns out that it was the leader of the Crimson Reapers, Naruto. So now he had the two tails, the one tails, and the nine tails. Three-tailed beasts under his control. That amount of power was nothing normal. This was bad, and yet, what could he do about it? Absolutely nothing, because he's been a goddamn failure. Unable to find a damn thing about them. As he cursed himself. Greatest spy master my ass, he thought. As he was currently in a bar drinking. It's not been that pretty on him. It hasn't been that pretty at the village either. The village of the Hidden Leaf had changed completely. It had taken a rather swift turn. Danzo was able to draw himself into most situations nowadays. Because Harrison felt lost. And he knew that if he didn't do something, the village would end up falling. All the regrets from the past came back towards Harrison. And in order to banish those, he decided to indulge himself by going to someone that he knew that he shouldn't go to, which was none other than Danzo Shamura. The two men had made great changes to the village. Big changes. For one thing, the San was no longer a single hidden village anymore. The San had to pay repercussions of their mistake, and those repercussions involved Konoha had dominated most of their resources. Even throughout the 3 years, that has not changed. As the Hokage himself, followed by one of his main advisors, Danzo Shamura, had went to the Wind Daimyo. The Council of the Sand was there as well when Konoha made their demands. No one was expecting the Hokage, the peace-loving third Hokage, to actually go through with his threats. However, he made it clear he would do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter what it is to make sure that Konoha survive. And even if that includes subjugating the Sand, he would do it. And that is exactly what he did. The Sand now reported Konoha. Yes, they were still living happily. People were still going about their business. However, Konoha was drawing funds from the Sand and also reporting into them about information. It just goes to show the amount of control that they had right now. The Sand was already one of the weakest nations, with the loss of their one-tailed Jinchuriki and also some of their ninjas on the battlefield. They stood no chance. Root ninjas have been deployed to watch their movements. Also, Danzo had been able to bring Root into light with Shiratobi. Comments once again. Jiraiya told his sensei that he might be going a bit too far, but Harrison was angry, saying that Tsunade was dead, and it was his fault. Yes, that is what they believe. The last time she was saw was over 3 years ago when she ran into the Crimson Reaper leader, and she hasn't been seen since. That person promised to make sure that he would grind Konoha down into nothingness, that he would make sure that all of them suffer, and Harrison believed him. That is why he's doing whatever it takes within his power to make sure that Konoha lived through this. So it doesn't matter what he has to do. It doesn't matter what. Taki Jinchuriki has recently gone missing. Yes, the Jinchuriki has been taken away from the village. No one knew who took it away. It was at night. The village was attacked. Countless Taki ninjas were slain, and there was not even a single body of the enemy. That meant either Taki ninjas were unable to lay a finger on them, or somehow the enemy was able to dispose of their ally's body before anyone found a damn thing. The Jinchuriki was taken, weakening Taki even more, and they had no idea who did it. However, Jiraiya knew who was responsible. After all, he had been in these meetings to hear the things that were changing. Konoha had the seven-tailed Jinchuriki under their control at the moment. Well, Danzo had it under his control. He was the best one to control it with seals to make sure that she would be working with them without hesitation. It doesn't matter what she had to do. Jure had to be there to apply seals as well. He was still a Konoha shinobi, and he had to do what he was told. However, it seems that those things were weighing on him heavily, given his rapidly increasing age. After all, it's only been 3 years and he looked much older. And he also looked tired. They are doing so much things that would make. It seems that Konoha was one of the worstest nations, but in order to survive, they will have to do this and above and beyond. It doesn't matter what now. They will have to do them all. However, that is not all. Itachi Uchiha paid a visit to the village. This was a rather secret meeting that not even Jiraiya was aware of, because the only two people that he spoke to was Danzo Shamira and the Hokage. Jiraiya did not know anything about this meeting, so he was not a part of it. The two people, Danzo and the Hokage, had things going on. Itachi wanted to know where the hell was his little brother, and he found out that his brother was taken by these Crimson Reapers. Movements were being made all over. Yes, the world was really in a hustle right now. At the Hidden Leaf, the place had become like a dictatorship. The civilians still carried themselves in their manner. However, for the shinobis it had changed. A lot of people were demoted. Chunins were demoted back to Genins. Jonins were demoted back to Chunins. And thus on. Everyone's skill was tests to see if their rank had kept up through the ages. And those who have not kept their rank up and their strength, well, they were demoted back down. People were even sent back to the academy for proper lessons. The academy had changed, taking on a more brutal tone. Water walking, tree walking was being learned in the academy. They were learning how to fight, how to properly kill and defend themselves. Things were getting brutal within the village. As for the rookies, that had two of their members, well, kidnapped away from them, that being Natsuma and also being Gara as well. They were unaware of the situation. Only thing they knew was Natsuma was kidnapped. Not that most of them was buddy-buddy with her. However, Sasuke was a big blow to the village. He was one of the last Uchihas remaining in Konoha. And many people were angry that he was also taken as well. Furious as they want him back. But what could they do? It's not like they knew where he was at all. Meanwhile, once Sakura Haruna was just buying something from the market. The stone monument had been rebuilt. Took them a while, but it was rebuilt. She glanced up as she took her things and made her way off. Sakura Haruna was no longer a ninja. She was one of the few that was kicked out of the program. Well, she had been given a chance to go back in and start over. However, the new regime was just not for her. Her father owned a bakery that she was now working in. Her parents were happy that she was no longer a ninja. The way things were set at the moment, they were afraid of their baby girl getting killed. They were worried for her. And there wasn't much motivation for her to go back. The rest of the Rookie 9 kept their whims about being a ninja, even Ino. Well, she was the heir to the Yamanaka clan, so her giving up on being a ninja was not really practical. However, Sakura's background was from a civilian family, and she had given up on being a ninja. Sasuke was gone, and she had no idea if he was dead or not. He was one of the main reasons why she became a ninja. Happy to be on his team, Natsuma was also gone as well. But she just couldn't keep up with the new regime that they were being put through. She was already weak to begin with. Ino and some of the other clan head children had not been placed back in the academy because most of them were denied. Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru because of his laziness, and even Hinata as well. They had to get extra training done. However, their families had taken upon themselves to train them in their clan art until they were at a suitable level for them to retake the test that was given. A new test that would see if they were ready for the field. Otherwise, they would be used for different means. However, all of them passed. Even Hinata, who was now marked with a curse mark. Yes, the cage bird seal had been placed on her head. Over the year, Hinata and Hanabi had several sessions on who would be the rightful heir to the clan. However, Hinata came up short on several of them because of her lack of confidence. She was branded and placed in the branch house. Surprisingly, Neji took pity on her. Yes, he felt sorry for her. Granted, given their background, it seems rather surprising, however. The girl had been through a lot. She had been stripped of everything, including her title as heir. Her younger sister taking over, who was being trained to lead the clan into a most powerful regime than ever. However, Hanabi cared about her sister, and she didn't want to see Hinata suffer. So when she was around, no one could take advantage of Hinata. However, the main family heads, they kind of enjoy watching her suffer because they always thought of her weak and pathetic, and that she was never fit to be anywhere near the leadership of the clan. Yes, a lot in Konoha has changed. But despite that, she was still a ninja. Her efforts were best suited on the field, they said. And not to mention she had to be strong. So Neji took it upon himself to help her, which gained her a lot of strength and confidence over the years. However, none of that would remove the mark on her forehead. She would be forever stuck that way. Or maybe, not for too long. Hinata was greatly saddened by how her father treated her. The moment she was tested for the last time and she didn't want to hurt Anabi, he cast her aside. Since she became a branch member, he hasn't visited her once. He treated her like she was invisible. It broke her heart. It caused her to harden on the inside, really showing emotions nowadays. Hinata was terribly hurt by that. It was something that she could not forgive. She was still close to their sister Hanabi. Hanabi did not want to rule the clan, because with the way things were going, despite her being clan head, she wouldn't have much power. The council wanted to rule many things. They had a lot of say over what she did, and not to mention they enjoyed hurting the branch family, which she hated, because her sister was now a part of it. However, something was in the works, and Neji was a part of it as well. As Neji had seen the cruelty more than once by the main family, which had just gotten crueler and crueler, and with the village tuition, the lesser family was being used. Ninjas that were being sent out from each clan, yes, they were each destined to send out their ninjas if the situation arises, and the Hyugas sent the branch members as cannon fodder to use them. The main family was never being touched. That is why Neji was making a move behind their back. However, he was not the only one. But if the main family find out, well, it will be severely bad on them. Truly, horribly bad. Meanwhile, that was going on, as those changes that take place in Konoha. The world itself had not been the same. Kiri was still fully recovering from the war, while they were sending their ninjas out on missions now, and tried to gather back their strength. They were still not as strong as they once was, so they had to be careful in anything they engage in. Yes, they had to be truly careful. Chance of them going against one of the big nations are slim, but anything can change rather quickly, and if they did, they would be eviscerated. They stood no chance. However, at the moment there was a brawl taking place. Two powerful warriors, Han and Roshi, were the Jinjurikis of the Hidden Stone. Oniki did not really extend the olive branch to them as friendship or anything. They were just sacrifices, Jinjurikis. Neither of them had good relationship with their tail beasts. They thought of them as just being for power. Granted, the tail beasts have been stealing them for a long time, and they would just give them their power so they wouldn't bother them most of the time. But what they truly wanted was freedom. Yes, that is all that they seek. Freedom. However, today might be the day that they get their freedom. Han and Roshi were friends, as both of them were the protectors of the Hidden Stone, as people call them. Granted, they were not living in the village, they were in the outskirts of the village, because most people still fear the prospect of the seal breaking and those demons wreaking havoc on the village, despite not seeing that before. People were just that ignorant. Jinjurikis were never treated fairly. Life was hard for most of them, really hard. However, Han and Roshi, granted they did not live in the same place, they had just met up today. But today was the worst day for them to meet up. Their location was far away from the village, but close enough to be sensed, and it would take a while for shinobis to come out there. But why would that be the case? They were Jinjurikis, two powerful beings that could level villages with just releasing their power. However, this was worse than they thought. They were facing that child. Yes, both of them being respective adults, surprised that they were facing a child. Two child to be exact. And these child were currently defeating them. One of these child had long black hair that he had grown out. It did not reach all the way down his back. However, it did cover his right eye, showing only one as there was a parting in his face. There was a red clip that kept his hair from completely covering his face. It was granted with the Uzumaki swirl on it, given to him by someone that he's come to know over the past couple of years. A decorative sword strapped to his side. He was wearing a black shirt with a symbol on the back for Uchiha. White stripings that went down towards the black and white pants that he was wearing, loose fitting. That fit him perfectly. Sandals that were covered by the pants at the ankle. Sasuke Uchiha had his hands resting on his blade. His one eye that was being shown, showing the Sharingan, as he focused on his opponents. Well, not him alone. Beside him, there was a girl standing there. Her hair had really grown out. It was long like her mother's once was. However, she had tied it up in two pigtails that was braided together coming down. It could be used for her special jutsus. Whenever she was in the feeling of it, she was wearing black high-thigh boots, a black shorts with red streamers running down the sides, showing off her thighs. Her stomach was bare out in the open as she was wearing a white and red jacket that stopped right above her stomach with a mesh shirt that came down, exposing her lean, muscle stomach. It's not like she was bulk or anything, however, her stomach was toned and, well, in good shape. Her eyes looked over towards their opponent. She glanced beside her, looking towards none other than Sasuke. Sasuke gave her a nod, as the girl was none other than Mito herself. She held out her hand as chains came from her sleeve and wrapped her on her hands. She moved, Sasuke moving behind her. Roshi was the first one to take off, Han staying back. Roshi flashed Johansson before he opened his mouth, seeing that these two would not give up. He knew what they were after and he would not let them have it. Balls of lava shot from Roshi's mouth. Mito moved forward and drove her fists, slamming into the balls of lava, destroying them, making contact as Sasuke jumped over her head. He came down bringing his sword down. Roshi looked up as Han jumped forward and slammed Sasuke with his armor. The sword clashed against the armor, but the armor just wouldn't give up. However, Sasuke's sword started to enlight with kanjis all over it. Han was beyond shock. He was baffled as he started to feel the sword tear into his armor. Quickly, he released steam. Hot, smoldering steam that forced Sasuke to be pulled back by Mito. A chain wrapped her in his wrist and yanked him backwards. Sasuke dropped his sword as Mito caught it as she twirled him. He flashed Johansson fire style. Fire swirl. Just as the jutsu was named, the fire came swirling out of his mouth. However, Roshi jumped up in mid-air, holding out both of his hands that were melting with lava, as he seemed to slam it right in the fire, absolutely cancelling it out. But that was his mistake. He was fighting two opponents, not one. He thought that Han had his back, which he did. However, not in this situation. Han released his steam, but there was too much chain. At least 20 chains erupted from the girl. And her chains were moving so fast. One of them struck him in the armor. The blunt force caused him to be thrown back as a chain grabbed Roshi's feet and squeezed it. He cried out and instantly his body was covered by lava. However, the problem was the chain was messing with his chakra. But he raised the temperature as he kept on pushing and pushing and pushing until a violent shockwave of Tail Beast's power exploded out of him. He shot a glob of lava out of his mouth. When it hit the ground, the entire thing exploded, forcing the girl to jump back, seeing that the chain was not releasing him. Once she did, he landed as he bulldozed towards her, aiming to take her head off as he extended his hand. He brought his hand to rip her head clean off. However, slice. Roshi cried out in agonizing pain as Sasuke caught his sword that Mito had thrown when Roshi was coming towards her and dropped like a bomb, slicing the man's hand clean off. Roshi was baffled as the sword had cut right through his lava, absorbing it in the process. The sword started to take on a more lava look, as it seemed to mimic whatever it touched. Roshi bleed and stump as he looked down towards the ground as Sasuke swung the blade towards his head. Roshi ducked underneath as Han came in and punched Sasuke right in the face, flipping over Roshi in the same process. The force was staggering as Sasuke was thrown back. The both of them were incredibly strong. "Are you alright?" Han said, turning towards Roshi. "I'll be fine. But we can't afford to hold back on these two. They're strong. Stronger than I thought. Yeah, we need to go all out. It's a shame a bunch of kids are pushing us this far." Both of them started powered up. Their chakra seemed to spike. A distance away, someone was watching the fight, as he seemed to smile to himself. Immediately, both of them transformed. A distance away, as stone shinobis were rushing towards the field. However, they were not alone. The leader himself, Oniki, was making his way towards the battlefield. Feeling the demonic chakra pulsing through the air, and not to mention, he was told that two of them were being attacked. Oniki was coming out there to protect his asset. The stone needed Jinjulikis. As he moved, with breakneck speed, moving as fast as he could, as much as his back would allow him, seeing that it was always hurting. From his distance, he could see the two-tailed beasts as they transformed fully. The 5 and 4-tailed beasts. Sasuke held out his hand, stopping Mito in the process, as he then closed his eyes as the two-tailed beasts charged forward. He then snapped open his eyes, his hair blown out of his face to show a fully developed pair of Mangekyo Sharingan. The moment he made contact with the tailed beasts, their bodies seized up as they tried to move. However, they could not. It was then that Mito jumped ahead. Chains exploded from her back and shot forward, wrapping around every one of their limbs before slamming them viciously into the ground with tremendous force. As she held them down, Sasuke, Mangekyo, holding them in place. Sasuke focused as his chakra was trying to overwhelm the two-tailed beasts, stuck in them where they are. As Mito chains held them down, she slammed her hand together as she went through hand sign. Her chakra washed over their body and forced their consciousness back. Little by little, their consciousness was pushed back inside of them. Slowly, it was driven back deeper and deeper and deeper until both Jinchurikis revert back to their normal form. Sasuke's eyes returned back to the three-totem Sharingan. How he awakened those eyes was a separate matter, not a story to be told now. As Sasuke watches, the tailed beasts were pushed back down, as she also suppressed the Jinchurikis as well, as the both of them passed out. "It worked," said Mito as she turned back towards Sasuke, who seemed to give her a friendly smile. "Good. That would have been a lot harder if they had both transformed." "Yeah. But we would have handled it, right?" said Mito. "Of course we would," Sasuke said. The past 3 years has been different for them. Granted, Mito and Sasuke were originally stronger when they were younger. However, they were nowhere at this level. They just took on two Jinchurikis and defeated them, and just suffered minor wounds. Mito had a few gashes and cuts here and there, seeing that they were fighting for a good about 15 minutes now. Sasuke had a bleeding lip, and that was just against Roshi and Han. The both of them were immensely powerful, even though they killed beasts. However, Mito and Sasuke had been training for a long while, 3 years straight. However, it was a method of training that they were given. It wasn't anything ordinary. Just like how Naruto was placed in a tank when he was younger, they too went into that tank. However, for different means, but that was not important right now. The important thing was that Tachikage arrived on the scene before any of his troops. After all, he could fly. "Just what in the hell is going on here?" he said, as he looked down towards the two individuals. He saw Sasuke's eye. "An Uchiha?" he said. It popped in his mind. "You're that missing Uchiha brat from Konoha." "And you," he said, looking towards Mito. "You are the Jinchuriki that has gone missing as well, or perhaps kidnapped. And you two are here kidnapping my Jinchurikis. Just what in the hell is going on?" he said. "This is bad," said Mito. "There's a lot more coming." "How much is a lot more for you?" A lot, she said to Sasuke. You two, said Oniki. Answer my question, what are you two doing here and what are you trying to do with my Jinjurikis, he said, in a demanding tone. I'm afraid that is not up for us to tell you, said Mito. So why don't you scram, old man, she said. Oniki raised his hand immediately as a spear formed. It was so fast as it surrounded their bodies. One more move and I will turn you two into... Oniki was cut off as the technique was absorbed. The person that was watching had cleared the distance in a matter of seconds. The technique was sucked away, shocking Oniki as someone stood in front of the both of them. I told you two to utilize each other's strengths and weaknesses. Yet you're still trying to one-up one another. That battle dragged on, longer than necessary. The man said as he spoke. The two of them looked down, like he was scolding them even though his voice was so gentle with them. They had learned over the years that despite his calm demeanor, his training was... Well, the thought of it made them shiver, so you should understand how they felt. We're sorry, Sensei, the both of them said. This was rather strange given that Oniki was just standing there. As he focused on the young man in front of him, he could call him that because he was twice his age. However, here, he then glanced towards the Jinjuriki. Wait, could it be? No. He then remembered the attack on Konoha. His mind slowly put it together. Uzumaki, he said. Naruto Uzumaki slowly turned. 3 years has not changed him much. Frankly, he had not changed at all. He had already reached his peak height and mature, so there was not much to go on. He had cut his hair a bit. It was now right at the crook of his neck. But other than that, he was still wearing his glasses, yes, different clothing, as he was decked out in a red armor. It seems like normal clothing, however it was not. Granted, there was seals sewn into the fabric. You could understand. As Naruto turned and faced Oniki. I'm right, am I not, Oniki said. You're the one that attacked Konoha. You're this Naruto feller, he said. That is why Konoha has gone through such big changes. You're back from the dead to wreak havoc on them for their past mistakes. So that means that none of us are safe. And given your description, you're also the one that went after the two tails as well at Kumo. So you're making moves against the entire nation, even going after my tail beasts. Your tail beasts. What makes you believe that they're yours? I'm not going to go into a contest about debating any of this. Now that I have you here, I just won't let you leave, Oniki said as he trapped Naruto in one of his spears, thinking that he couldn't do it twice. However, Naruto did not even move a muscle as the thing was absorbed, once again shocking Oniki. However, hundreds of his ninjas flooded into the area, battle ready and armed. Are you two ready? Said Naruto. The both of them nod their head. I told you, none of you are... Almighty push. The moment those words left his lips, as he raised his hand, an unnatural force blew Oniki's face back. He could not stop himself as him and his man were lifted and thrown. The entire place in front of them was just eviscerated, changing the landscape completely, wiping everything away. Sasuke Uchiha stood there, shock on his face. It was written all over it. Sasuke was not surprised one bit. For the past 3 years, he has come to understand this man that is known as Naruto Uzumaki. Come to see how truly powerful he is, and Sasuke did not believe that he could ever reach a level of power. It was something that he believed that was too beyond him. But that doesn't mean that he would stop trying to reach that level. It was just a lot. When Oniki and his man finally regained their bearings, the opponents were gone. Several of Oniki's men had died in that calamity. Their heads had slammed against the pavement. Their bodies were crushed, debris crushing and bursting through them like bullets. It was filled with gore and destruction. Oniki had blood run down his forehead as a stone had nicked him across the forehead. He snapped his head. Find them! Now! He shouted. The ones that were back on their feet quickly spread out, Oniki was furious. He was mad, angry. Time skip. At the land of Uzu, the current secret location, not exact land of whirlpools. Jiraiya had checked there, but they were not there. The location of where the Uzumakis reside was somewhere that would be incredibly hard to find. Yes, difficult. Almost impossible. At the moment, both Han and Roshi was tied up. Hanoka was leaning up against the wall as she saw Naruto. His hands were on both of their heads, as their eyes were closed, as she watched him, speaking to the tailed beasts inside of them. They were so close to their dream. She could taste it. Things had really progressed far in the past couple of years. And her relationship with Naruto had gotten a lot better as well. They had promised each other that they wouldn't label anything or go too far until they did what they had to do. Because there was a chance of death everywhere. Granted, the lot of them were extremely powerful. Still, they had seen their village that was said to be some of the mightiest fall. And people had fallen rise over the years that showed them that no one was truly invincible. However, maybe he was. Naruto did not possess a tailed beast, however. His body had as much chakra as perhaps the Nine Tails. Maybe. She wasn't quite sure. His normal Uzumaki chakra was already extremely large. Adding on to that, the experiments that was done on them to increase their chakra capacity. And Naruto's line of family members were already powerful. And his Rinnegan mutation, that seemed to be a step above the normal Rinnegan, had granted him with far more vast chakra than expected. Maybe it wasn't as large as the Nine Tails, however, he definitely had tailed beast level chakra. She, Mito and Natsu for the same. Natsu and her had lower levels, however, Mito had the Nine Tails, and not to mention the experiments that were done on her to make her body at least several times stronger and her chakra capacity grew. Well, it surely helped a lot. However, she was not the only one. A lot has happened for them. Bonds have been made. She saw Mito as a little sister. The girl was incredibly nice, not to mention Mito had an eye for romance, it seems, because she was able to instantly find out that something was happening between them. And she promised that she would never make a big fuss about it, but she was happy to see they were together, as she come to love her as her big sister, that is. And that made Hanoka dream for a better future. Hanoka knew that she wasn't a good person. It was not going to be any sham and say that she was good, or she had done good things, yes, but she was not a good person. They were going to condemn thousands, hundreds of thousands to death to ensure that their plan will succeed, because anyone that stands in their way would be wiped out. So she was not a good person. However, she was trying to fix the world. In order to do that, bad things have to be done, because peace could never happen in a simple way. There's always something that had to ruin it. And the peace that they want to create, they want that peace to last for eternity, to grow through the ages and fully pass down. And that is what she was fighting for, and that is why she won't stop until it was over. However, the younglings had also grown as well. It was 4 months ago. Sasuke Uchiha had faced off against his brother Itachi Uchiha, as Naruto himself had went for him. Flashback. Kisame and Itachi were currently coming back as they had just dealt with another bounty mission for the Akatsuki. The Akatsuki was gathering funds in the shadows while everyone else was moving all around about the Crimson Reaper, their leader, and this and that in Konoha, while they were gathering the funds and getting stronger. Kisame had his hands behind his head as he calmly walked with a gentle tune whistling. Itachi seemed upset. Well, you couldn't really tell because he was always so neutral. Itachi has been searching on the down low. He also asked Sasori if his brother was anywhere to be seen. He phrased it in a way that made it seem like he was just wondering if he was dead. However, no one was able to find a damn thing about him. Konoha lost his brother, Hiruzen, and Danzo had blamed everything on Naruto, saying that he kidnapped Sasuke probably for his eyes, they did not know. Orochimaru had been incinerated by that group, so probably they wanted their power as well, including Sasuke's Sharingan. That caused Itachi to go ballistic. However, he was naturally a calm man. However, the more time that passed, the more Itachi's sickness was getting too much for him, and he started to realize that he was going to die without ever seeing his brother again, and that put a pit in his stomach. Samehata started to shiver. Samehata started to behave nasty. As Kisame stopped, "What's wrong?" he said, turning back towards Samehata. Samehata seemed like he wanted a lunge. Something was coming. Something big. Kisame took Samehata off his back as the bandage exploded. Samehata wanted to lash onto this chakra that he felt. In front of them was a man walking towards them. "Itachi Uchiha," he said, his tone leaving no arguments. "Come with me." As he turned to walk. "Huh? Who the hell are you?" said Kisame. "Walking in here like you're the BAM." Kisame was caught off guard. Itachi. His eyes were faster than most, but yet he only felt it when the person arrived. Kisame looked down into his guts. The person's hand had been covered in a strange sword made from chakra that had ripped right through several of his organs. Blood came from Kisame's mouth. Before slash, the hand that was holding Samehata was removed. Its face was then grabbed as he was lifted off the ground. His head was then slammed roughly into the earth. Kisame opened his eyes, trying to get his bearings in. However, a feet came down and smashed in his skull, leaving him a bloody, destroyed mess. Samehata lashed out towards Naruto, who swiped his hand as the thing was slashed, dropped to the ground, as it was wincing and crying out in pain, using his chakra to try and heal it. Itachi was visibly shaking. The amount of power he sensed from this individual was nothing normal. The power that he possessed was on the level of their leaders. Granted, he held back when he fought the new recruits of the Akatsuki members, the one that he had brought in himself. However, Kisame could not handle that kind of power. The speed was beyond something that their eyes could follow. Well, his natural eyes it is. This man in front of them was a monster. For once, Itachi seemed disheveled. "Who are you?" he said. "Don't you want to see your brother? I know you don't want to die without seeing him. So come with me." The person then turned and started to walk. Itachi saw the hair. "It has to be." "Are you Naruto Uzumaki?" he said. "I said come with me. I'm not gonna ask again." Stuffing his hands in his pockets, he walked. Itachi had sacrificed a lot for Konoha. However, the one that he never wanted to sacrifice was his brother. And if he tried to attack this person, he could feel it. He would die. So for once, he chose himself first. He chose his happiness at seeing Sasuke. Because he was going to die anyway soon enough. And if he did not see Sasuke, well, he would just fight this individual. And probably try to seal him away in the blade of Totsuka. They walked for a good 30 minutes in silence. Neither man said anything. Back towards Kisame, Samehata had crawled over towards his master and held on to his arm that was not severed and pumped his chakra into him, feeding off his own chakra as well to cancel the effect on both of them. Slowly but surely, Kisame started to heal. However, it will take some time. Itachi found himself in an open area where he looked up to see none other than his brother. Naruto then proceeded to walk away. "Itachi," said Sasuke. End of flashback. A battle had commenced between the two. A battle that was filled with love, anger, hard speech, things that rattle one's hearts. The two brothers had fought with everything they had, showing respect to one another. Itachi didn't have to hold back as much as he thought. Sasuke had truly grown and he was proud. For once, Itachi decided to focus on his brother and himself. He had thought that he would never ever see him again. However, he disregarded even the Hidden Leaf Village. Something that he wouldn't normally do, but the hopes of never seeing his brother again had plagued his mind for so long they just fought. Fought through their fists, blades. They did not say a word, they just fought. As they come to understand each other more and more. the sacrifice that they made for one another. However, the Hidden Leaf was a corruption, so was the other villages. It wasn't only Hidden Leaf that would be brought down. The whole ninja system would be erased. The more they fought, the more Sasuke realized that the sacrifice that Itachi took was going to happen to more people out there. And Naruto was right even more. The Hidden Leaf villages had to be erased. The whole ninja system had to stop. It has to cease to exist. All of it had to go away. Hanoka. Hanoka was snapped out of her trance as Naruto opened his eyes, looking towards her. What did they say? Prepare them for the extraction progress. It seems they have the same ideology as Kram as well. They understand that their father made a mistake. The world has to change because if it does not, once again they will be prisoners. They want a better world where they can live without fear as well, run free. I promise to give it all to them, and they promise to align themselves with us. Hanoka was feeling overjoyed as she moved in and hugged Naruto. As her feelings just got too much for her. Granted, she was thinking about being with him and now... I'm sorry, she said, pulling back, as she got too emotional. It's just... As Naruto walked forward, they were immensely close, like really close. She could feel his breath. I'm sorry I haven't been paying most attention to you lately, he said. I care about you a lot. However, I made a vow to you a long time ago that in order for me to truly be happy, in order for us to truly do something about these feelings that we feel for one another, the world as we see it now has to change. I know it's been a long time, and I know it's been hard waiting this long. She placed a finger to his lip. If you're going to tell me that I should go and be happy if I want, don't you say that, she said. I care about you, she said. I know we promised to hold things off, and I will. But don't ever say that to me. Because you don't say that to someone you care about. Understood? He simply nodded his head, as she then moved in and gave him a kiss. As their lips intertwined, their tongues dancing together. It was a hot, heavy kiss, as she broke apart. I'll be waiting, she said. And you know I always keep my promise. They had not shown much affections outside of the bedroom. That is why she apologized for jumping all over him. After all, not many people know about their ongoing relationship except for a few. She walked out of the room swaying her hips a bit, just to entice him a bit, which made Naruto smile. These few people around him was the only people that kept him going. Because without them, you would see that he was a broken man on the inside. He knew what he had to do. And if he didn't have these people in his life, all of that would just plague his mind forever and haunt him. However, these people that he's fighting for, they kept him alive. And he would not stop until he made sure that you're safe. With that, he left the room. Meanwhile, the hidden stone, Oniki banged his fist into the table. What's wrong, said Kurosaki. It's a damn Uzumaki's. I always thought that just maybe some had survived. However, I never expected to actually be them. I was there. I see why. Harrison had stepped up his game because he knows the backlash that he's about to face with not just the village but with everything. What do you mean? Kurosaki asked, not knowing of the history. That is not important right now. What you should know is this world is going to be in turmoil soon enough. Perhaps a big war is going to break out. A war? Yes, a war. Between who? The fate of this world and the Uzumakis. Kurosaki raised the eyebrow at that. What? Meanwhile, that was going on. The group had gathered once again. After all these years, we're finally meeting back up. However, it seems like it's for naught given the fact that all the tail pieces are slowly being taken right under our noses. Enough, Hidan. The leader spoke up, as Hidan went quiet. It has been months now, we can safely assume that Itachi has been killed. As Kisame clenched his fists. Yes, he was pissed that Itachi was killed as well, they were comrades, however. The humiliation that he suffered, that was what pissed him off the most. Never in his life had someone had treated him like that. He he wasn't prepared. No, he wasn't, but the person's speed had just caught him off guard. And he couldn't keep up. The person had sliced right into his guard, passing him and Samihato like it was nothing. But the next time they meet, he would kill this individual. I'm sure that you're all aware of our main source of problem right now. That being the Crimson Reaper. We have no idea what he told Itachi if he made him follow him, or if he killed him, or took him away. But we can all say that he's strong. Strong enough to face off against the Hidden Leaf, and walk out without any of his members being harmed or hurt. The tailed beasts have been slowly being taken away. This organization also have their own goals, much different from ours. That is why we're mainly focused on finding them. Once we do, we will attack them head on and remove all the tailed beasts they have gathered away from them. However, at the moment, having them around is a good thing. None of the other villages are paying attention to us, which gives us free time to move around and see how things are playing out. So for now, all of you remain on standby and keep out of the public eye, while Zetsu does his job and find these members. And once we do find them, who is going? Ask Hidan. You all are. All of us? Said Sasori. This foe is stronger than we estimated. Underestimating them will lead to your downfalls. With a strength with all of you going ahead, a failure is not an option. Do you understand me? He said. All of them nodded. Kisame, we have gathered a partner for you. Really? And here I thought I would be a lone shark, said Kisame, as someone else popped up on one of the fingers. The person was silent for a while, until, Hi there, I'm Toby. What the hell? Time skip. Yujito, former Kumo ninja. She was in complete bliss. The past 3 years have been wonderful for her. Things that she never thought would ever happen was happening. For one thing, she was happy. No longer gruesome training pushed her limits every morning. No longer being bothered, no longer being used and sent out on missions that would probably get her killed. Here was much more generous. In her entire life, she had never thought that she would have this kind of peace. And also, she was dating. Yes. It was a good thing that she had girlfriends now to speak to about this whole thing, because she never knew how to act her own voice because, well, she never really been doing that before. However, she had a boyfriend. His name was Ayato Uzumaki. Granted, like many other Uzumakis, he knew how to fight. However, he was not really a fighter. Most of the Uzumakis here were not really fighters except for a select few. Ayato was the most sweetest. He did not care about what she was, not that anyone here did. However, she met him because of her another close friend, a girl Uzumaki that she had met here named Karen. She and Karen and Mito and several other girls hang out. And Ayato told Karen that he had a crush on her. The day that she found out, she was shaking and shocked. She couldn't believe it. And she thought that she was probably lying. Her of all people. And then he came over. He was so nervous, it was sweet. And they started to talk. And, well, a few weeks after, they started to go out. It has been a couple of months now, and she had to say she couldn't be any more happier. However, she didn't have that much experience, so she didn't know what to expect. It has been going on for a while now, and they haven't really, well, been together in an intimate way. She was a grown girl. She was a woman now. And she wanted to take the next level, however, she didn't know how to do it. That is why she needs some advice. However, she was not the only one in need of said advice. Gaara. Gaara had cut his hair. Not too much, but it was lower than before. Gaara was actually smiling. Even his old attitude and demeanor had changed. He no longer wore that gort on his back. He had seals all over his wrists that were visible. They almost looked like tattoos. as Gara was sitting down with two guys. One Uzumaki and one not. As someone came over and placed down drinks on the table. It was none other than Sasuke. And Sasuke sat down with them. These were his friends. The past few months had been healing for Sasuke. After fighting Itachi, he was able to awaken his Mangekyo in the final moments of the battle. Let's just say the emotions were sky high at the moment. And everything just, well, everything. Seeing his brother die by his hands, it just snapped his eyes to be awakened. However, Gaara now stood, as he was pretty nervous. What if she says no? I'm telling you this once again, said Sasuke. She likes you. Yeah, the other two chimed in. We've been on countless assignments before. And I'm telling you this once again, said Sasuke. She likes you. She's just too nervous herself. Really? Said Gaara. I've never seen her act nervous before. Yeah, because she doesn't like to show it to anyone else. Always trying to put on a brave face. Fine, said Gaara. I'll do it, he said to them. As all of them put on a cheeky grin. You guys better be right. He said, giving them a glare, a playful one at that, making them laugh at the process. Gaara was gonna ask out someone. That someone was someone that he got really close to over the past couple of years. He had started over and now he had someone that he actually liked. It was Mito. Yes, Mito. Most would think that she would end up with Sasuke given that the both of them always went out on missions and assignments. However, that was not the case. They were just friends. However, how would Mito take it? Would she accept his feelings or reject him? While that was going on at the hospital, Tsunade Senju was indeed not dead. She was now in charge of this hospital. There wasn't much to do, seeing that Uzumaki's have a high healing capacity. However, every now and then there is something about their healing that she helped out with, not to mention she was also dabbing in the scientific area, using the Uzumaki blood to create a drug that could actually help a lot of people. However, it was hard, but the thing was she had a lot of resources and power to do so. These people were generous and they trust her as well. She was part of their lineage. She's never felt at home as before. She knew what Naruto was planning, she knew what would happen to the leaf. However, frankly, she just did not care. The village that her grandfather created was no longer that village. That thing was just full of monsters. Time skip at the hidden leaf. A Chunin came in the room as he handed Sir Toby a file. Documents inside. After said file was opened and read. After about a few minutes, another Chunin came in, and this time the letter. Sir Toby was not expecting a letter, so he was wondering who this was. When he read it though, he was surprised. A letter from Oniki. Now that he did not expect. Meanwhile, the Raikage also got a letter on his desk as well. However, he wasn't alone. The Mizukage, new one, also got a letter as well. The world is about to move finally. They realize that the past mistakes are coming back to haunt them. However, could they find the Uzumakis? They would need a lot more resources to do so. I mean, after all, the Uzumakis are closer than you think. However, it was just hard to see them. But guys, be end right here. If you want to see the next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm hoping to see you guys soon. Peace!